What's good, everybody? Is when I'm coming back at you on a video. So with this video, I wanted to talk about the power of reading books. Now, I'll speak for myself. Growing up as a kid, I was never the biggest reader of books. Right? For me, I grew up playing video games, and that is what I did for enjoyment, to pass time, all these things, and sports from time to time. So I would never label myself as a bookworm, because I know that there's people who read books for education, there's people who read books for pleasure, and people who read books, for a number of millions of reasons, right? However, I felt like for the most part growing up, I mostly read the books that I needed to read, like going through my education and the curriculum and all these things, right? So I read the books that I needed to then get whatever assignment I needed to get done. So I rarely ever read for pleasure. But where I'm at now, in the position that I'm in my life right now, reading books is so powerful, because when you read books, especially the books that I'm interested in, which right now, of course, this channel, right, is about success, personal development, all these things, growth, right? I want to bring out the best version of myself. I want you guys to bring out the best version of yourself. I enjoy reading books that are tied to this sort of that realm, that sphere, right, of success and personal development, because I've learned so much through courses, through audios, and I'm much wiser now as a person. I've grown so much more, from the version of me years ago, and I can immediately spot the wisdom now in books, and I can immediately spot, the life lessons that I picked up along other pieces of material, that I see it are reflected in other people's works, right? It's almost like I've learned a lot of the same concepts and materials from multiple different mentors, so that when I randomly stumble across a new book or something that I want to read, and I pick it up, and it'll be someone explaining something, it'll be like, oh wow, this is the same concept that was explained many times over the years that I've come across. So this isn't anything new, but this is just hearing it from someone else's perspective, right? Books are so powerful because it allows you to experience someone else's perspective, to understand what they have to say. And for a lot of books, it is extremely powerful because you can use your imagination to step into their world. Now, I say this because there's books that I read, like about this self-development and growth and all these things, and the author would basically talk about different examples, and it'll feel as though I'm there, like I'm activating my imagination, and I am physically there in the situation that's being described. And it can be someone, like the author can be explaining, if, let's just say, the focus is feeling good, right? Focusing on your emotions, focusing on being positive all the time. And there's an example where it can be, let's just say the author is driving down the road, and then they get a flat tire, right? If you were in a situation like this, most people, the average person, if they got their flat tire, they would be frustrated. They would be angry. They would say, you know what, this flat tire, this is such an inconvenience. I got so many things to do, and this is getting in the way. Now I got to worry about this tire, and, I got to pay for it, or I got to call, roadside help to get my car towed because I can't go nowhere, right? So most people would be frustrated. But reading the books or listening to audio, right, like the author would say, in a case like that where they would get a flat tire, they would be excited. They would be excited because they don't remember the last time they got a flat tire. And the fact that this event happened, that means something is happening, which means that something can unfold from this. Something good can happen from this. The whole time I'm thinking, that's drastically different from how I would react, right? But this author is genuinely excited that they got a flat tire, because they're like, who knows, maybe someone is going to stop by, like someone that's driving is going to stop by, and maybe I can meet them, and maybe that can end up being, a friend that's meant to be in my life. Or maybe that person that can help me could end up being a business partner that can somehow be an investor in my like they're thinking about all the possibilities that can end up being good that stemmed from this flat tire that most people would label as a bad event. But that author understands how the world and the universe works, and like if they're excited, if they've been feeling good and good things have been happening, it's easy to think that the flat tire is a bad thing. But you never know what getting a flat tire can lead you to, what it can move you closer towards, right? And so going through that, like whether it's, just listening to an audio or like even reading a book about a situation like that, it'll feel as though you're right there on the side of the road with the author, witnessing this entire event happening. And you're just like, that makes a lot of sense. I would not react that way, because if I was in that situation, I'd be frustrated thinking that, yo, this is a bad thing. Like, this is now going to mess up the plans that I had. But from the author's perspective, this is a good thing, because events are happening, which means it's leading me closer to my goal, my dream. Is something good is going to come out of it. Even if I may not see what's good right now, something good will come out of this, even if I don't know what it is right now. That's the power of listening to audios. That's the power of reading books, right? Another example, the author explains this, and we'll stick with a car, right? Author explains why you should feel good. You should focus on feeling good. Focus on your emotion and having positive emotions. The author explains, if you want, let's just say you're driving a car that you've had for quite some time and it's like old, right? And you're dreaming about your dream car. Say you want that Ferrari or that Lamborghini or that Rolls Royce, right? The author explains, if you want to get that vehicle, focus on the good of that vehicle. Focus on how it's going to feel when you get that car, when you're driving in it. How you'll be able to be comfortable in the premium leather seats, and you'll just feel so good because you're in your dream car, and the car is going to be able to get you from point A to point B, and it's going to be so reliable, and you're going to be driving in style. You're going to be feeling so good. And when you have, your significant other or your family in the vehicle, they're going to be excited, and you're basically going to be feeling on top of the world. And so the book explains that you should fall in love with that idea of that new car. But oftentimes, rather than focusing on that, people would put their attention on how bad their current car is, how unreliable their current car is, how ugly it is, how it just creates all these problems and all these things. So it's like, how do you expect to attract that new car and bring that new car into your life if you're focusing all your attention on the bad of your current car and your current vehicle? It's the same idea there, but it seems like when that gets explained, you're able to use your imagination, and it's almost like you're in the vehicle with this person, having the conversation, having the dialogue, and you can almost envision yourself, like if you were in the shoes, how would you react? So that's the power with listening to audios, right, and reading books. I know this video is mostly on focusing on reading books, but yeah, like when you're reading books, it's almost like you're stepping into the world that the author has created, and you can use your imagination to begin envisioning yourself in that situation, how you would react. So that is, for me, that is how I'm able to gather experiences, by simply reading, because I can read a story, an example that the author plays out about focusing on feeling good, and having that be your attention, right? Trying to smile and be excited more throughout the day. The author would explain the situation, and I would think to myself, I probably wouldn't be reacting this way. I probably wouldn't be operating this way. And so because of that, I can see the immediate disconnect between where I'm at, how I operate, versus how I should be operating, right? Because the author is literally giving me the blueprint for life. It's giving me the blueprint and the instruction manual on how I should be operating, how I should be living my life, right? Like the end goal, the best version of myself should be here. And I look at my day-to-day and how I've been operating, and I haven't been operating to that level. So that's the disconnect. So that is where I need to work towards to get there. And so this is why you should be focusing on reading books as well too, Because oftentimes when you read books, depending on the types of books that you read, right? Like if, say, for example, you know, you're in a situation where like your finances is not in a desirable state. Sometimes reading a book about financial success will give you that excitement, will give you that joy, because you then begin thinking about what that's like. You begin putting yourself in those situations. You'll begin, it's almost like you're taking your mind away from your current reality and you're putting it somewhere else and thinking from a different vantage point, right? You're using your imagination, your most powerful tool, to say, okay, I can see what's going on. I can see the situation that's being explained. I'm here, and this person explaining that this is how things should be, and there's a disconnect between us. So if I want to get there, let me be more like them. Let me improve myself so that I'm like this person being described in this situation, so that I can bring out the best version of myself and move towards what it is that I want. So that, man, like reading books, listening to audios, I highly recommend it, right? Sometimes people may put this on a back burner. People forget about it, because oftentimes people forget, like, the problems that you might be dealing with or might be experiencing, it's 99.9%, pretty much 100%, that someone else in life has experienced that same problem or has been in a very similar predicament or almost identical situation as you, and has figured out a solution or has provided some guidance to help move you forward. And so the answers exist. It's just some people just don't go out looking for the answers. And that's the power with reading books and listening to audio and getting courses and things like that, because you continue to expand your mind. You continue growing as a person, and you continue bringing in new ideas that maybe, if you hadn't read a book or listened to audio, you probably wouldn't have gotten exposure to other ideas. And how can you grow as a person if you're never constantly finding ways to get better, right? The ideas and the beliefs that I have are always subject to change, because maybe there might be someone that comes down the line with a better idea, better belief that trumps mine, right? If that's the case, then I'm more than willing to accept that idea or adopt that belief, because if it'll make me better and if it'll help me push forward towards the person that I want to become and the life that I want to live, I'm more than happy and willing to accept that. So this is the power of reading books. The power of reading books, you get exposed to new ideas, you get exposed to new perspectives, you begin to see the world differently, and you begin to you are capable of using your imagination to your advantage. You can essentially experience what's being put down on paper or what's being explained to you through audio, through course, whatever. And that can essentially serve as you gathering experience. That can serve as you essentially, what's the word? Like witnessing the person, or how it is a saying where like you can be an apprentice and you like shadow someone, right? It's just like that as well. It's like you can learn from an expert. You're essentially shadowing them when you're reading the book. If they're talking about their life experiences or different things, you can learn from that. So that's the power of reading books. That's the power of audios, of courses, of just growing as a person, right? You want to bring out the best version of yourself, and sometimes other people might have the answers, right? You may be searching for the answer. Sometimes the answer is in a book. Sometimes the answer is in an audio. So get out of your comfort zone and start expanding your mind. That is how you grow as a person. That is how you bring out the best version of yourself, because you may be operating a certain way, thinking that that's been the best way, but if you're not where it is that you want to be and you don't feel as though you're getting closer there, then sometimes you may have to look elsewhere. You might have a problem that's already been solved, that the answers exist in books, but because you don't want to pick up a book, how do you expect to ever get the answer? Do you want to just go through life trial and error? You can do that, but oftentimes it'll take you longer going through trial and error and trying to figure things out on your own, rather than if the blueprint for life or the instruction manual for life already exists, why not just pick up the blueprint or the instruction manual and learn that, and then live your life from that vantage point, rather than trying to figure things out on your own, right? At the end of the day, you want to live a fulfilling life, and there's people who are doing that right now, that day to day they're living their dream life, why not just do what they do? Why not just learn from them, right? If they're already doing it, there's no shame in picking that up. There's no shame in learning from that. And that's the main point that I'm trying to get. I want you guys to be the best version of yourself. So whatever avenue you have to learn, be open to it, right? Because we never stop learning. Every single day our minds want to be fed with information, and you have the power to decide what you want to feed it. The same way you eat every day, the same way your mind wants to be fed information. And obviously there's a plethora of information that exists everywhere. You just have to look for it. But in this video here, this is me speaking on the power of books, because books allows you to use your imagination, and you can essentially create the event in your mind and experience it in your mind. And if it's a book that talks about self-development and growth, right, and it shows like a prime example of how someone should be operating, and you envision yourself not operating like that, then that's how you know that you need to begin making change and striving to be better. Will it happen overnight? Probably not, but that's okay. We have time. We can better ourselves, and it'll happen over time. So that wraps up the video. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like and subscribe, guys. We are on the road to 100 subscribers, so all your support is greatly appreciated. Once again, guys, this is Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.